Democrats are trying to force Republican lawmakers to take an on-the-record stance today as they debate whether to remove Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Greene from 2 U.S. House committees. Representative Greene has come under fire, as you know, for spreading false information about school shootings, claiming they were staged, also repeating provenly false election results. She's also accused of supporting comments online threatening violence against Democrats. 11 Alive's Latasha Givens is taking a closer look tonight.
A lot of Americans don't trust our government, and that's sad. The problem with that is, though, is I was allowed to believe things that weren't true, and I would ask questions about them and talk about them. And that is absolutely what I regret.
Earlier today, Representative Marjorie Greene spoke on the House floor, saying her lack of trust in the government led her to believe QAnon conspiracy theories she found on social media.
These were words of the past, and these things do not represent me. They do not represent my district, and they do not represent my values.
That there seems to be somewhat of a double standard.
Luke Martin, the chairman of the Floyd County Republican Party, says he doesn't condone some of Representative Greene's previous comment, but he does feel there's a double standard.
Representative Greene is not the only person in Congress to have said something that is wrong.
Congress gets most of its work done in committees. It doesn't.
Emory University political science professor Andra Gillespie says Representative Greene's previous statements can be concerning, specifically because of the committees she's been assigned.
And especially given her position, on a committee that has oversight about education and could have oversight on issues related to school safety, given some of the comments that she made about Parkland, about Sandy Hook, right? People don't necessarily feel that that's the right place for her to be.
Gillespie also says while being on a committee is a vital role that could limit Representative Greene's ability to write legislation, among other things, it doesn't take away her vote.
She can still vote on the floor. She can make amendments from the floor as she sees fit.
It is pretty rare for a House member to be stripped of their assignments. It last happened in 2019 when House GOP leaders removed Congressman Steve King of Iowa from the Agriculture and Judiciary panels. They did that after he made comments to a newspaper about white supremacy. He ended up losing his primary the following year.